Welcome to our introduction video on the teaching of data handling. This topic will be divided and presented in two parts. In this video, we will focus on what learners should know about data, graphs, and the collection of data. Part 2 will focus on organizing, summarizing, representing, and interpreting the data. What does the DBE say learners should know about data? Learners should be able to collect and organize data, represent data, analyze, interpret, and report on data, summarize data verbally and in short written paragraphs that include drawing conclusions about the data and making predictions based on the data. When you begin teaching this topic, start by finding out what learners know. Ask learners what they think is meant by the word data. After hearing their responses, explain that data is a name given to collections of basic facts or statistics. The main examples of data are class lists, learner attendance registers, test results, weather information, prices of items sold, addresses, tax codes, and nutrition, for example, calories. Data handling refers to how we work with or understand the collection of facts and statistics we have. And this links back to the curriculum, where learners need to be able to represent data, analyze, interpret, and report on data. Ask your learners if they can think of ways in which we collect data. Show them pictures of items that contain data and acknowledge learners who have already identified some of these items as sources of data. Make sure that your learners understand that data can be gathered from different sources. Tell the learners that there are examples of data in their classroom. Ask them to name a few. Examples are names of learners, ages of learners, class list with test marks, birthday calendar, bottles of water or juice, exercise books collected, or a timetable. Tell your learners that they will be learning how to analyze data and how to represent the information in graphs. Graphs and data go hand in hand, and it is important that learners know how graphs work. Explain to them that graphs are used for the following purposes: to show information visually using pictures, to show the results of assessments, to help people put data into categories, to help people compare data, to summarize and display information in an easy way for people to understand, to show a visual representation of relationships between quantities or variables. Also explain to learners that there are different types of graphs, each serving a specific purpose. The first graph is a pictograph, which shows information in a picture form. A second type of graph that is often used is a bar graph. Bar graphs allow us to compare data and see how something changes over time. A third type of graph is a double bar graph, which allows us to display and compare two sets of data on the same graph. A fourth type of graph is called a pie chart. A pie chart allows us to quickly see the biggest or smallest share of the total data by simply looking at the graph. The last graph is the histogram. This graph looks like a bar chart, but unlike a bar chart, there are no spaces between the bars. A histogram is a graphical display of data using bars of different heights. We will now discuss the different parts of a graph. It is important that learners understand how graphs are constructed. This knowledge is essential for children to be able to correctly read and interpret data on graphs. We will start off with the title. The title is always above the graph and it explains what the graph shows. The title of this graph is Number of Learners in Class, so we know that it summarizes the attendance of learners for the past week. Remind learners that in a bar graph, there is a y-axis and a x-axis. Tell your learners that there is an easy way to know the difference between the two axes. They should simply learn this little rhyme to remember which one is which. X to the left and Y to the sky. The y-axis runs vertically, up and down. The y-axis usually has numbers for things being counted. For example, in this example, it shows the number of learners present for each day of the week. The x-axis runs horizontally or flat. The x-axis usually represents time periods, in this case, the days of the week. Tell learners that the word legend means story. Each graph has a story, and on most graphs it is shown as a legend. The graph on the screen shows the number of learners in class this week. It is important that we take time to read the legend on a graph because this helps us understand what we are looking at. The legend often appears somewhere next to the graph or below the graph. For example, here the legend is to the right of the graph and it tells us what colors are used to show each day of the week. The curriculum requires learners to be able to collect data in different ways. This includes the use of tally marks. Keeping tallies is a very easy way to collect data. But learners might not be familiar with this technique, so you will need to make sure to explain how tally marks work in a lesson. Explain to your learners that tallies are a record of an amount and that tally marks help us keep track of numbers in groups of 5. Quickly show learners how tally marks work by drawing up an example on your blackboard. Show them that one vertical line is made to show one number. 2, 3 and 4 are represented by additional tally marks. The 5th number is represented by drawing a diagonal line from left to right or from right to left across the previous 4 lines. Once a set of 5 is shown, you then begin making a new set of tally marks to continue counting. For example, the tally marks shown here represent the number 18. Emphasize that a tally chart is a simple way of recording and counting frequencies. Show your learners a tally chart, such as this one, and ask them to explain to you how this chart represents the results of the matches played by the Superman cricket team. We have reached the end of part 1 of our introduction to the teaching of data handling. We suggest that you take a short break before you navigate to the next link to watch video 4, part 2.